This summer we started off at team camp. We went down to Pittsburgh State for their team camp. We did some 7-on-7 with some of the local schools around the area, and weight room wise, we averaged probably 30, 35 kids during the summer.
So, I was interested in the Pittsburgh camp. So, a couple of people going to contact camps and stuff like that. Is that like forego the work that you might do at your school and go to a camp like that, or is that just something extra that?
Well, I've had some kids ask about going to it, and we tried it. I don't know if I'm a big fan of it because you go down there and they tell you it's thud, and we get down there and we're taking some serious hits. We lost a player down there with a broken leg, and
oh, really?
yeah, and it's a thud camp. And again, I left there educated, I should say.
So you taking your own equipment and everything?
Yeah,
down there,
you take your own equipment. We came up with a school district policy. We had it before where we couldn't do things like that, but the district changed their policy and let us do it.
So we have with us Atchison High School and Coach Jim Smith. Coach, you want to introduce the players you have with you?
Sure. To the right over here, I have Nick Buster. I have Jace Nelson and Joaquin Gill.
So this your 18th year?
18th year.
18th year. So talk a little bit about you got back and won another league title. You had a lot of success, early years. There's a couple of undefeated seasons that you had in there too through the regular season. Talk a little bit about getting back on top, and we obviously saw what you did and named you our coach of the year. Talk a little bit about that, transition back up to where you got to last year.
Well, good players make you good. Good players get you coach of the year and things like that. And it's a matter of the time they put in the off season, which gets you over that hump. And again, I've been real pleased. It's a close knit group. We had a lot of younger kids last year, and again, I just look back at the effort that they put in practice and how hard they work. That make the difference.
So you mentioned good players, and of course we have with us Joaquin, who was one of our Offensive Player of the Year finalists last year. So I will start with you. Talk a little bit about, I guess you're being that leader now, being the quarterback, but as well you have a busy summers with basketball and those things. So talk about how do you balance that from your perspective, being a leader and making sure to be there for the football guys.
Well, football season becomes for basketball. So anything football first, I have to go to that. It's pretty busy and pretty hectic. I have to try to eat right, take care of my body, make sure I weather the storm some, getting banged up, and really the leader stuff. It just comes playing with the guys I do. I'm nothing without my line and the people around me and the great coaches I have. So that helps.
So we got a lineman here, Nick. Talk a little bit about the offensive line and how strong, and around you, I guess, in terms of last year, you was on our SHUKC team. So talk a little bit about what you have around you coming back this year.
Well, we've lost a pretty good senior who kind of helped me through what we were doing last year. I was a bit confused, but he had me. Kevin Birkinshay had me in check, so I could always ask him if I had a question. But we got new guys filling in that position. We've got a shift in the offensive line. It's just kind of a battle at this point with new people wanting to be in the positions, and just
So let's talk a little bit about last year. So, but talk a little bit. How do you build on winning that league championship? How do you kind of build on that moving into this season?
Well, I think it's just through execution and practice. We haven't added that much. We're adding a little more zone read, but we really have taken some things away and just trying to get better at the small things.
So you had a quarterback kind of a competition last year before Joaquin stepped up. So are you a little bit farther along, and maybe you said you keep it kind of the same, but do you put any new thought into what you want to do this year with what Joaquin did?
Right.
To do last year?
Joaquin's a special player, and it's tough when your backup quarterback's your son.
Yeah.
But he's battling mono right now, so it really doesn't make. There's really not much of a controversy there. So he's been able to practice a little bit, but he hasn't been able to go full go yet. We will on Monday. But we can do so many things with Joaquin, and with some of the skilled position kids we have, we're able to do a lot more.
You got to remind me your name again. I forgot that
This
quick.
is Jace Nelson.
Jason. So, Jason, question coming your way now. Got to make sure you get opportunity to speak. And so talk a little bit about, I guess, what you've seen thus far in the first couple weeks of practice. What do you see as the greatest strength of your football team?
Well, we didn't lose very many seniors on our offense, and the guys that we did lose, we had guys who could step in just fine. We only lost one lineman, and our line goes real deep this year. We got about 8 guys, a lot of competition there. We got Joaquin back and Parker, so our backfield looks good. We added James Boatwright for receiver, and Bryce is back, so we look real good on offense. And then we lost a few D linemen, but Decoy's still there, and Nick's going to play some D-line this year, so we should be pretty good on the defense.
Joaquin, talk a little bit about, developing as a thrower. We know you can run all over the place and make a few throws, but how much work did you put in over the summer, in the passing game and being able to be a little bit more effective in that area?
Well, it's a very slow, methodical process and develop the accuracy in passing game. The coach really just helped me out this summer and gave me the keys to get to work. At times it was frustrating, but I think I've worked on it so much, it's come more like natural and instinct than last year was a little bit more of a struggle.
So you guys were nicked up going into the end of the year before you went into the playoffs. How important is it for you guys to be able to, finish off what you got started last year?
We had goals last year. I think injuries really prohibited us from accomplishing them. Hopefully this year we'll be, blessed enough not to no one get too serious injuries. And that's really what I think held us back last year. And with the group of guys we have coming back, I think we'll be all right.
So, Jason, what are some of those goals that you guys have lined up for this year from a leadership perspective?
Well, obviously we won league last year. We want to do that again. And then we'd like to win a few district games, make it to the playoffs, and see how far we can get in there.
What about from a coaching perspective goals? I mean, do you immediately just go straight to the playoffs, or do you have a philosophy, 1 week at a time?
Well, if you know me, it's 1 week at a time. We don't look down the road at all. You always have the goal of the league, the district, and winning some games in the playoffs.
Talk a little bit about Decoy. I mean, I think highly of him and what he was able to accomplish last year. On film he looks real good too, but how much has he developed over the summer, and how does he look coming in?
Well, he had to take a step backwards. Again, I go back to that dang team camp we went to. He suffered a concussion at the team camp, and he was out for most of the summer. The doctors wouldn't release him to lift or do anything. And but he's coming back. He's getting after it in practice. He's fine now, and I really look for some big things from him. He's going to have a lot of help. We moved Bryce Ensbrenner. We moved him to a defensive end. We did that for a fact. We lost one of our defensive ends, moved to Texas. And anyway, Bryce is doing a wonderful job at the defensive end position.
You put some weight on him?
He's up to about 190 pounds now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
He's had a great winter, summer as far as working out, yes.
How does this team compare to some of the good teams you had in the past? I mean, do you make those type of comparisons, maybe look back to what some of those good teams you had before?
Yeah, you always look back at some of the teams you've had in the past, some of the individual players you've had in the past. I would, class of 07, season of 06, I would compare these kids to that group.
Who would you say is Atchison's, this to the players, who would you say is Atchison's biggest rival?
We were talking about that back there. League-wise, I would say Washington. The last 3 or 4 years, I think we've been decided by 1 point each time. Right. And then overall, I like playing Tonganoxie. I think we've developed a rivalry with them back from the 04-05 time, and we always seem to have good battles with them too.
Is that a regular season or?
That back then it was back in the playoffs,
okay.
And now it's been regular season for the last 3-4 years.
Okay. You guys got anything else you want to bring up? Shout out. Who are some players that we haven't heard of before that maybe are stepping up, younger players?
It's not a younger player. He's a senior. He moved here from Topeka last year. Towards the end of the year is James Boatwright. James is going to do some great things for us. He's a tremendous athlete. We got Austin Bonnell back at middle linebacker this year. He's up to a whopping 170, but like I tell people, excuse me, he doesn't make the big hit. He won't make the big play, but he makes play after play after play. And he's always in the right spot. So And then, as these guys mentioned, I've been real pleased with our offensive line. We have about 9 kids to choose from, and we're going to rotate them in and get them going. So
Parker Welsh, how's he looking so far?
Parker's doing okay. He's been battling a foot injury, but hopefully this week he'll be 100%.
Very cool. All right, guys, I appreciate it.
All right, thank
Best
you.
of luck on Friday.
Thank you.